Now I want to bring in CBS Radio News' Robert Berger. He is in Jerusalem for us. And I just want to go ahead and ask you quickly. The president walked back support for new Israeli settlements. How will this be received where you're at in Israel?
Yeah, that was certainly a headline, and I think it's going to be a disappointment, obviously, for a lot of Netanyahu's coalition partners who have been pushing settlement expansion since President Trump took office. Israel has already announced about 6,000 plans for about 6,000 new homes in the West Bank, and they were pushing full steam ahead. And now President Trump is saying, well, hold on, not so fast. And so that is going to put Netanyahu under some pressure from his hawkish government.
There's been a lot of talk, including today, that he'd like to see the embassy move to Jerusalem. Can you explain the significance of that and what you're hearing where you're at?
Well, he also, President Trump did, he stepped back on that as well, even though he said he'd really like to do it. It's really complicated because basically it's likely to lead to an outbreak of violence. I mean, the Israelis, of course, would like to see it. They see Jerusalem as Israel's eternal, undivided capital. They'd love to get international support for that position, which they never have gotten, and a move of the U.S. Embassy would effectively recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. But the Arab states, the moderates, the radicals alike are all against it, and like I said, it could lead to an eruption of violence.
Well, and I want to talk a little bit about what I was asking Margaret about just a few minutes ago in terms of a worldview when he's talking about this two-state versus one-state solution here. How do you think what was discussed today is going to play out in Israel?
Well, certainly the government of Netanyahu is opposed to the two-state solution. A lot of officials in the government were saying they didn't want to hear that word or that phrase spoken at the news conference. I think they got what they want. They oppose a Palestinian state, and a lot of Israelis do, because, like Netanyahu said, they fear it means another Palestinian terror state right in Israel's backyard, something like Gaza. Now, on the other hand, the idea of a one-state solution, people aren't really talking about that either. I think they're talking about an extension of the status quo.
Yeah, it's interesting. The two leaders also discussed, Robert, Israel's security and the Iran nuclear deal. What are you hearing in Israel about the deal itself and what it would do?
Well, of course, Netanyahu always opposed the deal. He even went to Congress to try to stop it over President Obama's head. And basically, they didn't really go into specifics. I think what Netanyahu would like to see is tougher American enforcement of the deal. I don't think they're going to try and dismantle it. But certainly for Netanyahu, the Iran issue is something where there's agreement with the president on preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. So that's something Netanyahu would actually like to focus on, and not the Palestinian issue where there's still some disagreements.
Well, we'll have to see how things sort out now. Robert Berger, thank you so much. Appreciate you being with us.
Thank you, Jamie.